In this video, we're going to be talking about why you should start a business in your 20s.
Trapped in the concept, falsely accused, was used, and misled. I'm hoping you can rest in peace.
There's really a lot of reasons I feel like people should start a business in their 20s, or at least some sort of side hustle that can really be legitimately scalable. And as I've said before several times on this channel, you don't have to be someone like Mr. Jeff Bezos to start a business.
Guys!
There are tons and tons of ways that you can start some sort of side hustle or a full-fledged business online by just investing a few $100s up front. Hopefully you guys get some value out of this. Hopefully you guys learn something throughout the duration of this video. If you do, please feel free to drop a like on the video, maybe even consider subscribing. These two things really do help out the channel, really help the channel grow, and really push this video out to more people. The first reason I really feel like everyone who's in their 20s should start some sort of scalable side hustle or full-fledged business is really because I'm finding college is becoming more and more irrelevant. Now, this doesn't mean that college is bad. This doesn't mean if you went to college you made the wrong decision. This doesn't mean if you want to go to college or go back to college you're also making the wrong decision. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, from everything I've seen in the workforce, from other people are doing, really you don't need a college degree. Your job might require a college degree, but you don't need one. Like the skills you learned, the material you learned in college are not helping you do that job. Now don't get me wrong, if you want to be a doctor or maybe a physical therapist, then going to college is absolutely probably in your best case scenario. But say you want to go to school for something like business or anything along those lines, I personally feel like you're better off just building the plan as you go, researching whatever you want to learn, and then diving into whatever niche or whatever section of business that you want to get into and just figuring it out yourself. And I really feel like this is going to be much, much more valuable than say any textbook or anything that anyone that's lecturing you is going to be able to teach you. Now don't get me wrong, I've built some of the most important habits of my life that I plan to keep up and keep with me for the rest of my life by going to college. And I'm not sure I would have built them if I did not go to college. So there's definitely an opportunity cost and there's definitely more that you can learn aside from a textbook by going to college. But at the end of the day, if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to build a business, then college may not be the best place for you. On that same note, college is also super expensive, and that's not really a secret. As of this year, 2021, 69% of college students graduated with an average student debt of 30,000 Mr. George Washingtons. And on top of that, there's also a good percentage of students and people that just graduate with 6 figures plus in student loans, never mind the $30,000 we just talked about. And all this just to work a 9-to-5 job that at the end of the day is going to give you some sort of capped income potential. Now imagine instead of that, you put that 20, 30, 40, heck, 50 or maybe even $100,000 towards investments, or maybe just even starting a business. It's very possible, very easily possible, quite possibly that you could set yourself up for astronomical success in the future. I also just don't think people look at starting businesses the right way because they think because it might take a couple of years for that business to get off the ground, it's the end of the world and that's too much time.
Guys!
But if say it takes 5 years for your business to get off the ground, and instead of working a 9-to-5 job for 40 years, you only have to run that business for say 10 or 15 years, but it takes that initial 5 years to get off the ground, wouldn't that make more sense mathematically to do that? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe not everyone sees it that way, but hey, that's just my opinion and that's what I view. And even if you are that kid who wants to go to college for whatever reason, maybe you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever the case may be, I personally still think it's really important to at least try to start some sort of business, because you might find your calling, you might find a following, you might find something you never would have ever thought you'd be interested in, then you can take that, scale it, and run with it. Anyway, moving on to number 2, getting off of that college reason. This one's not going to be anything spectacular, anything that you've really never heard before, but obviously in your 20s you are going to have more time to recover, which means you can take much more risk. If you are someone in your family that doesn't have an obligation, say no kids, no family, very, very, very low expenses, it's much easier for you to take a chance and swing for the fences at starting a business like this.
Swings and a fly ball to deep right field. This is gonna be a home run!
But say you're someone in your 40s or 50s and you have 2 kids, you have a wife, you have all these bills, you have a mortgage, you got everything to pay, and all these people are looking at you for their family and to put bread on the table at the end of the day.
Guys!
It might be a little more difficult to take that risk because at the end of the day, you got to get that bread.
They said snow! I gotta get the bread of milk!
On top of that, your energy level is just going to be higher when you're in your 20s. It can definitely be draining in your 40s and 50s having 2 or 3 kids, trying to give them support, going to all their school plays, soccer games, basketball games, working a 9 to 5, and starting a business on top of it. Plus, going back to the risk point, whether you're investing $1,000, $10,000, $100,000 or more to start your business, at the end of the day, if you're young and you're in your 20s, you have one person in your corner who is very important, and that's father time. If something goes wrong when you start up this business, whether you want it to scale to something great or maybe you just want to make a living off it and free up your time, if something really does go drastically wrong, at the end of the day, you can pick up everything, walk away, and start over. Whether that's going back to the corporate lifestyle, working 9 to 5, or whether it's going back to school, you'll have that option, and it's okay because you're young and you can afford to do this. And again, on the flip side, if you are in your 40s and 50s and you want to put, say, $10,000 or $100,000 into some sort of business venture, that might be harder to swallow because if you've invested throughout your life, which if you watch these videos, hopefully you are doing because it's something I really practice and preach on this channel a lot, it might not be the best thing because you are probably closer to retirement than, say, someone in their 20s. The third reason that you should start some sort of business or side hustle that is really scalable is because it's going to put you further ahead in life, as I touched upon before. Like I mentioned before, by putting your head down and just working for 5 years, just 5 years, that can accelerate your life astronomically. Think of it, if you live to be 100 years old, 5 years, that's only 5% of your life. 5% as opposed to spending over 20 years in school in some cases. But by working a 9 to 5, especially if you're working in a union, there's a very good chance you're only going to see minimal raises year over year. On average, most people will only see a raise of about 3% per year. But when starting a business, it's very likely that these numbers can skyrocket if you're willing to put in the work and just keep grinding. For example, if someone's making $100,000 a year working a 9 to 5 job, it's very possible that after 1 year, a year after that mark where they're making $100,000, they're only making $103,000. But if you're running a business and you decide to continue to try to scale it and you continue to innovate and put out high quality content and products, it's not unlikely for that $100,000 you were making 1 year to scale to $150,000 or $200,000 over the course of just 1 single year. And the last thing I'm going to talk about on this list is when starting a business or some sort of side hustle that's scalable, it honestly just feels good to bring in that money knowing you made it on your own, as well as it's going to continue to motivate you to put out high quality content or products. And that is gratitude is very, very important. Just by putting all that time and effort into a quality product that someone gets value out of, and then you see all those sales, all that income coming in, it's just a really great feeling at the end of the day. But when you're working a 9 to 5 as, say, some sort of data analyst, that desk job, it might not just give you that same passion, that same drive to analyze data. If you're analyzing data, say at a desk job for 100 hours a week, 100 hours, you're putting in all these extra hours, there's a good chance that your salary is not going to increase. Your bosses probably could very well just give you a pat on the back and say, continue on, great job, and not give you any sort of additional compensation. Or they could even tell you, all right, stop doing that, go home. But at the end of the day, there's a good chance you're not going to be compensated for the entirety of the 100 hours that you worked at this desk job. But if you own your own business and you are putting in this 100+ hour work weeks, you're going to be more motivated to keep going because at the end of the day, it's going to result in more money in your pocket.
Is money going up, but we only going up.
By putting in an extra 25, 30, or maybe even 50 hours, that could be the difference between $1,000 and tens of thousands of dollars. But on the other hand, like I talked about, just to reiterate, it's not going to matter whether you're putting in 40 hours or 60 hours because you're just going to get paid the same either way, and it's not going to feel as rewarding. If anything, it's going to be more demoralizing because you're doing more work for the same amount of pay.
Disappointed!
Now, don't get me wrong, obviously you can't just show up to work every single day and do absolutely nothing.
Disappointed!
And just go through the motions completely, because then that's going to result in you getting fired and put yourself in even a more stressful financial situation and just a more stressful situation overall. But I'm just saying you're probably going to feel more motivated if every single project that you are working on is the deciding factor between how much you get paid and how much you don't. And don't get me wrong, starting a business might not be for everyone, but there are some great perks that come with owning your own business or starting some sort of scalable side hustle. Some of these perks include creating your own living, creating your own schedule, not having to answer anyone, and being able to work from anywhere whenever you want want. I know me personally, in my situation, there's been a lot of jobs I've had over the years where I was working for someone that I don't think was running the operations the best in my personal opinion. Unfortunately, in a situation like that, there's not a ton I can do. I obviously can't just tell my boss to leave and take over his job and run those operations better. But what I can do is I can create my own business, my own scalable side hustle, and start making money that way, and honestly just run things the way I want them to be run and how I think they should be run. And if you are someone who's in your 20s and you've thought about starting a business or scalable side hustle in the past, honestly, the first step you have to take is just starting. It's not going to be easy at first. You're going to feel really awkward. Who cares what anyone else thinks at the end of the day? Just take whatever you believe in and continue and run with it. Because the longer you wait, the more time you're going to waste. And time is the most invaluable asset, obviously, because you can never get it back at the end of the day. You lose $100,000, you can get that back. You lose $1 million, you can get that back. You lose $10 million, you can get that back. You lose a house, you can get that back. You can get any material item back at all. But the one thing you can never get back is time. I know me personally, looking back, I wish I started this YouTube channel 5 years ago. I truly wish that from the bottom of my heart, and I'm gonna continue to build this channel until we build it into something great. I truly, truly believe that. And with that said, you guys, thank you so much for watching. That's gonna be it for this video. I really appreciate it. If you did get some value out of it, please remember to drop a like on the video, maybe subscribe down below as well. Let me know down in the comments how you feel about starting your own business, if there's anything that's holding you back. Let me know actually if you wanna see a part 2 to this, because there are a lot of things I could have gone into detail that I didn't. I kept this pretty simple, one of which is the tax benefits you get from owning your own business. A lot of people don't know that. The tax system's set up for people who own their own business to succeed, but people don't know that. So let me know down in the comments if you want to see a part 2 to this. I'll love to hear from you guys in the comments. I'll be checking them, and maybe I'll even put that part 2 out next week if you guys really want to see it. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video.